My name is Zhao Liyun, 29. A quiet strategist, the kind of woman they always overlook in a crowd. I don't chase attention. I let results do the talking. And the man who once laughed at me in front of everyone now answers to me. The room glittered. Laughter echoed. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like judgmental eyes overhead. And me? I stood quietly in the corner, holding a glass of sparkling water. No label, no diamonds, no expensive designer gown. Just me. Plain Zhao Liyun in a 39 dress. Until I heard him. Zhou Mingho. Tall. Flashy. The type who believed money gave him personality. You see her? He smirked, motioning toward me with his champagne. Some intern snuck in, I think. Hope she doesn't spill tap water on my shoes. Everyone laughed. Even the woman on his arm. I didn't blink. I just smiled and left early. Because what they didn't know was that I hadn't snuck in. I'd been invited by the board, and I wasn't an intern. I was finalizing an acquisition, the biggest buyout of the year. Their company. The papers weren't signed yet, but close. So I said nothing. I let them laugh. Because it's always louder just before the silence. And 2 weeks later, I walked through the doors of Mingho Tech wearing a tailored black suit and nude heels. Receptionist blinked at me. I smiled. I'm here to meet the board. Tell them Zhao Liyun has arrived. Her eyes widened, because the new owner had finally shown up. And Zhou Mingho? He didn't know yet. But he was about to present his quarterly numbers to the woman he mocked for wearing a cheap dress. And this time I'd be laughing. The boardroom door creaked open. 12 men in suits turned their heads. And one of them nearly choked on his espresso. Zhou Mingho. The smirk evaporated from his face the second he saw me. His eyes darted to the seat at the head of the table, the one I calmly walked toward. Excuse me, this meeting is for senior executives only, he blurted. I placed the leather folder on the table, opened it, pulled out the signed documents with the golden seal. Then you may want to check who owns this company now. Gasps, whispers. The chairman stood to greet me. Ms. Zhao, welcome. Zhou's face turned pale. You? You're the new partner. No, I replied. I'm your new boss. You could hear the air shift. He tried to recover, chuckling nervously. Look, about the party, I was just mocking a woman based on her appearance? I finished for him. Don't worry. I'm used to men underestimating me. His mouth opened, closed. I kept my tone calm, my posture straight. Because I didn't come here for drama. I came to lead. But I won't lie. Watching him squirm was a side benefit I didn't hate. The meeting continued. Numbers. Projections. Q3 performance. And when it came time for questions, I asked him about the budget proposal he submitted last week. He fumbled. Sweated. Didn't know his own numbers. Perhaps next time, I said. You'll spend less time mocking women's shoes, and more time reading financials. The room laughed softly. This time not with him. After the meeting, he followed me into the hallway. Why are you doing this? I turned slowly. Doing what? Humiliating me. I stared at him for a beat. I'm not humiliating you, Zhou. You're just meeting the consequences. Dressed in heels. And then I walked away. Because this wasn't my peak. It was just the beginning. The office buzzed with a new energy. My name was on every memo. My face now appeared in investor briefings. The interns whispered in awe, not because I was loud, but because I had arrived. And Mingho? He shrank. No more VIP lounges. No more boardroom dominance. He was just another senior manager under review. I didn't fire him. Because that would have made it personal. And I wasn't here for payback. I was here to rebuild. This company had talent, it just lacked vision. And integrity. So I changed policies. Expanded women in leadership. Launched scholarship funds under the name Zhao Equity Initiative. People started calling me fearless. I wasn't. I was focused. But the higher I climbed, the more my past knocked softly on the door. One evening, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Liyun, a soft voice said. It's Auntie Meng. I froze. She used to run the corner shop where I cleaned shelves as a teenager. There's someone asking about you here, she said gently. A man in a wrinkled suit. Says he owes you an apology. I didn't need to guess. I drove there after hours. The shop hadn't changed, red lantern still swaying above the door. Inside, Zhou Mingho sat alone, hands wrapped around a chipped teacup. He stood when he saw me. Why here? I asked. Because this is where I first saw you, stocking dusty shelves after class, and refusing to take a free bun. I stayed silent. I mocked you because I thought wealth made me worth something. But the truth is, you were always richer than me. The words hung heavy. I lost everything, he whispered. But I don't blame you. I blame the mirror. And for once he meant it. I didn't forgive him, but I saw him. As a man who finally looked up, and saw the woman he once ignored. We sat in silence as Auntie Meng poured us tea. Not like enemies, not like strangers, just two people carrying old versions of themselves on their backs. Zhou stared into his cup. When I laughed at you that night, it wasn't just cruelty. It was fear. I raised an eyebrow. Fear of what? He exhaled. Fear that someone like you could rise further than I ever would, without connections, without shortcuts. You were already more than me. And I knew it. It should have felt satisfying. But it didn't. I looked at the cracked tiles under our feet, the same ones I used to mop barefoot after closing hours. You know, I said, voice soft, I used to pretend this shop was a boardroom. I count candy bars like inventory. Practice my speech in the mirror behind the noodle shelf. He smiled weakly. You never needed a stage. You built one. I nodded. But it came at a cost. He tilted his head. I looked at him, really looked. For the first time, I didn't see a bully. I saw a man molded by pressure, appearances, and expectations that caved him from the inside out. I spent so long proving I was enough, I whispered, that I forgot to feel it. The word shook me, because that was my truth. Zhou's eyes softened. You were always more than enough. The clock chimed. We stood. There were no grand gestures, no pleas for forgiveness, just mutual understanding. I left him there in the store where our paths first crossed, one in a messy suit, the other in designer heels. Back at my penthouse window, I looked out over the city I'd once stared up at in dreams. Not as a girl hoping to be invited in, but as a woman who had built her own empire. And still, I left the door unlocked, because maybe someone like me would need it open someday. A month later, Zhou handed in his resignation. No drama, no confrontation, just a quiet departure with a note on my desk. Thank you for the lesson. I'll try to be better, wherever life allows. I folded the paper and slipped it into my desk drawer, right next to the first job application I ever submitted. The one that got rejected because I didn't look the part. Now, I fund programs that rewrite those rules. At Zhao Foundation, we coach young women in finance, negotiation, and leadership. Every girl who walks through our doors gets two things: a mirror and a pen, to see themselves clearly and write the story others once tried to erase. Last week, I gave a keynote at a university that once denied me a scholarship. And I started with this. They mocked me at the party. Now I buy the buildings they host them in. The audience fell silent. Then someone stood and clapped, followed by another, and another. I wasn't moved by the applause. I was moved by the eyes of young women looking at me the way I used to look at others, full of possibility. That night, I returned to my apartment, not to celebrate, but to breathe, because rising doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes it feels like stillness, like drinking tea alone in your living room, and knowing you're not pretending anymore. You are her, the girl who was laughed at, who bought the company, and rewrote the ending. If you've ever been underestimated, this story is for you. Like, subscribe, and share, because your value isn't decided by a room. It's decided by how you walk back into it.